What if everything we think about wisdom and knowledge is completely backwards? The story of an ancient Greek philosopher who claimed to know nothing might hold the key to understanding true wisdom.
That's such an intriguing paradox. Someone considered the wisest person in Athens saying they know nothing. What made Socrates so different from other philosophers of his time?
Well, you know what's fascinating about Socrates? Unlike other teachers who charged hefty fees to share their wisdom, he walked barefoot through Athens, owned practically nothing, and spent his days questioning everyone he met, from politicians to craftsmen.
Hmm. So he wasn't just teaching differently, he was living differently too?
Exactly. And here's what's really mind blowing: the Russian moral tradition, especially writers like Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, saw something in his approach that was so revolutionary, they made his story central to their moral teachings.
Oh, wow. I had no idea there was such a strong Russian connection. What drew them to his story specifically?
Well, they were captivated by how Socrates embodied this perfect unity of teaching and living. Like, when he was faced with false accusations and a death sentence, his response was absolutely extraordinary.
I've heard about the hemlock, but what actually led up to that moment?
So get this: he was accused of corrupting the youth and dishonoring the gods, which was basically the ancient equivalent of being called a dangerous radical. His friends actually arranged an escape plan. They had everything set up for him to flee Athens,
That must have been such a tempting offer, especially knowing the alternative was death.
right? But here's where it gets really powerful. He not only refused to escape, but he actually said something that became central to Russian moral teachings. It is better to suffer wrong than to do wrong.
That's, um, that's incredibly profound. How did he face his final moments?
Well, this is where the story becomes almost unbelievable. He spent his last hours surrounded by friends, calmly discussing philosophy and the immortality of the soul. He drank the hemlock poison without hesitation, teaching until his final breath.
The level of conviction that must have taken, it's almost impossible to imagine.
And you know what Tolstoy wrote about him? He said, "He lived as he taught, not in words only, but in deed." The Russians used his story to teach three core principles: loving truth above all else, having the courage to die for your beliefs, and valuing peace of conscience over physical safety.
Those principles feel so relevant today, don't they? Especially in our era of alternative facts and social media echo chambers.
Exactly. Like, imagine Socrates walking through our modern world. He'd probably be fascinated by our technology, but deeply concerned about how we engage with information and truth.
So, what would he make of our tendency to surround ourselves with people who agree with us?
Oh man, he'd probably have a field day with that. His whole method was about questioning everything, challenging assumptions, and being willing to follow the truth wherever it led, even if it made people uncomfortable.
That kind of intellectual honesty seems pretty rare these days.
You know what's really interesting? The Socratic method is still used in law schools and education, but we often miss the deeper significance. It's not just about asking probing questions, it's about this fundamental commitment to seeking truth, no matter the personal cost.
And that's what made his example so powerful for the Russian moral tradition?
Precisely. They saw him as this timeless figure whose example could guide people in any era. And maybe that's why we need his story now more than ever. In a world of increasing complexity and moral uncertainty, Socrates shows us what it means to live with absolute integrity.
That's quite a legacy for someone who claimed to know nothing.
Well, perhaps that's the greatest wisdom of all: recognizing how much we don't know, yet having the courage to keep questioning, keep seeking, keep learning. That's what made his story so powerful in the Russian moral tradition, and that's what makes it relevant even today.